Hey guys, welcome to another session of Epic 7. In this video, I'm going to be covering Sinful Angelica. This was released on the Korean live stream, and they actually got I would say the English translation version out quicker than they usually do. So really thank you for that to the devs and Smilegate, of course. I'll be covering Sinful Angelica here. I'll be covering Roanna in another video. So if you want to check that out, definitely check that out later. In terms of Sinful Angelica, we knew that she was coming. ML Angelica was data mined like over a month ago in terms of the voice ID. So we've been expecting this, but I really wasn't expecting her to be like this good. I think she's very good, and I'll of course go through my reasons why. First thing you'll notice is that she's a Taurus Soul Weaver. She is a 4-star, so the base stats will be running slightly lower. The speed at 108 is very fast for a Soul Weaver. The health at 4,200 being a 4-star is pretty low. The defense is pretty standard for a Soul Weaver. You'll have no problem getting enough defense, but the health may be hard to balance. The effect resistance, she has a very high innate, 30% with a 23.8% imprint concentration, and I do really think that she will be one of those Soul Weavers you want to keep that effect resistance up very high in terms of her overall build. So most likely you want to deck her out with an effect resistance ring, but again, like I said, the health is very low, so you need to scale that up, or you need to make her very fast, like fast beyond regular fast cleavers. So for example, if you're taking her into an offensive fight, you definitely need to be either turn 2, maybe turn 3, so enemies have like 2 cleaves going into you. Hopefully you can tank it, because she needs to get her S3 up before she dies, which makes her amazing. So everything snowballs pretty much after she gets her S3 up. Again, 30% effect resistance. I think she's the first Soul Weaver. I don't recall anyone else, at least not a meta Soul Weaver, that is a Taurus and that has 30% effect resistance. So if you have your if you have your Ice Angelica imprints ready, then definitely use it on her, and she's definitely worth the ego fragment. Yeah, so let's move on. So skill 3, Dark Salvation first. So Dark Salvation is it says whips up a vortex of darkness and loathing, granting immortality to caster for 2 turns, grants increased attack and speed to all allies except for the caster for 2 turns, and of course you can get it the 1-turn cooldown. It's a 4-turn cooldown, so it's not bad, and usually on skills when it just has a +1, it usually does cost quite a bit more. But someone on stream did mention that she is a 4-star, which I forgot. 4-stars do innately take less Catalyst and Molagora in total, so that's fantastic. I think she's pretty simple to Mola. We'll talk about that once we cover S2. The fact that again 2-turn immortality on her is very solid already. A lot of the skills that she has in terms of the S2 and S1 works on any immortality caster. The current other immortality caster we have is Shooting Star Akates. So if you have her paired with Sinful Angelica, let's say if you get stripped early in terms of her immortality, no worries, you got a 3-turn immortality as long as Sinful Angelica doesn't die from SSA. So it can work really well. But outside of that, even if she does get stripped, let's say it's like a solo strip, like a Charles or I don't know, like a Cowrick or something like that, she can still grant the attack buff and speed buff for all allies. So even just fulfilling the role, she's the Yuna. She's kind of like the more sustainy Yuna that we've been looking for. The Yuna paired with a speed and attack buff is a very, very good combo of buffs. This is the second character that we have it now as well for the same duration, so this is very good. Outside of the Yuna having the exclusive equipment for the greater attack buff, the 30%, she won't have that, but like if you're gonna use her as like an attack buff or speed buffer, she fulfills that role. If you have her fast enough, she can grant immortality herself, and then comes the like the more amazing part in my opinion. So, okay, when the caster is immortal, enemies cannot be revived, and all allies recover health every time an enemy dies. Amount recovered increases proportion to the target's max health, and then recovery effect can only be activated once per her turn. Okay, so with the Mola there is +7, that's 50% extra healing. Where if you watch the actual video, you will see how it plays. Obviously, if I take a screenshot here, it's not going to really work, but it's not going to really showcase it. But if she has the immortality up, RB can't revive. No one can revive. So that's like a different aspect to our extinction. You know, the revive meta can be pretty cancerous. Revivers are one of the highest picks in real-time arena, in world arena. So I think that instead of like banning just extinction or counter picking with extinction character or a strip, having this is a different type of experience, which I really like, because the non-revivable is only dependent on if she has the immortality. And like I said, if you do pair her with SSA, I do think that Sinful Angelica and SSA with a DPS will be able to turn around a lot of the Guild War defense right now, and I'm specifically talking about the high damage like RB Charles kind of comps. Like potentially this can work, because if you have SSA and you got Sinful Angelica that can do it for herself, the immortality, and she grants the attack buff, you got your attack buffer in that role as well. So that's fantastic. And of course, every time you kill someone, and RB, again, if you take her into RB fights, RB is relatively easy to kill, especially if you can't revive. So then you get the healing as well. So I think she's going to be a game changer. Some people are saying that, you know, reserved to say that she's going to be meta changing, but I think she's a game changer for sure. Like everything in her kit just says she's going to be great. So here's the last one, Deliberating Strike. This is skill 1. At innate is a 65% chance to decrease the attack for 1 turn. You can mold this up to the +5 for up to 75%. I don't think that's necessary, given the fact that if you soul burn it, which only costs 10 souls, not terrible. For specific fights, you may want to do it. 100% chance to grant it. Now, the only thing is, though, you may need to run some effectiveness, but usually on DPS, which is the ones you want to grant the attack down on anyway, they won't really have that much effectiveness, so you most likely will be able to get it. Like, you have the 15% resist chance, of course, to deal with, but, you know, it might be worth it. And it also increases the duration of the attack down for 2 turns instead of 1 turn. Now, the more amazing part is that when the caster is immortal, again, if SSA buffs her or her own self buff, triggers a dual attack from the ally with the highest attack. So when I was saying, like, Tamarine is a very good Soul Weaver all around. I mean, she can full cleanse, she can do a lot of stuff that Sinful Angelica can't. But in terms of like fulfilling the role of a dual attacker and an attack buffer, she's safer than Tamarine. Tamarine's problem is that she often, unless you're doing long PvE fights, she often does rely on some sort of bait tactic in PvP, or at least relies on a serious reset cooldown. Not saying that means that Tamarine's bad, it's just that her charge up time is way too fast. Now for Sinful Angelica, the charge up time is like pretty much immediate. You get the attack buff on the S3, and then you dual attack the next turn. In Tamarine's case, she would have to go into idle form, and then attack buff, and then dual attack as well. So if you reset Tamarine on the first turn, let's say with Assyria, it's the exact same amount of turns for you to get the attack buff into a dual attack. Now, of course, like I said, I'm only comparing them because they have similar effects. But I do think that Sinful Angelica has a very high place. Now, the fact is that she has 30% innate effect resistance plus a self-imprint of 23.8. So 53.8, like right off the bat, right off the shelf, if you can get those imprints, of course. For a lot of whales, I know that's no problem at all. I myself, I think I'm stocked up on 2 extra Ice Angelicas as well. If I do get Sinful Angelica, those are going into her right away. I think she's 100% worth it. With that 50% extra, just takes an effective resistance ring and takes a couple like 20 or so substats, and she won't be easily stripped. Of course, I think there's a thing people are saying like Basar. Basar would be like counter to her, but I'd say like Basar counters like so many people just because it has the ignore effect resistance, and Basar is just pretty OP. So I don't think that that means that Sinful Angelica is bad. Just because she can't go up against a Basar doesn't mean she's bad, in my opinion. In terms of artifacts, a couple of us were talking about it, and I think some theory crafts have been Prophetic Candlestick. I think it's a pretty fair one. On Immortal, especially Self-Immortal rather. Self-Immortal Soul Weaver, having the Prophetic Candlestick might be good, especially if you're taking her into a heavy cleave comp. Or you're somehow using her as a light elemental bait. So for example, like maybe into like an ML Charlotte Spez kind of deal. Prophetic Candlestick might be good, but I would say more often than not, you're most likely, if you have Prophetic Candlestick, that is, most likely using it against like heavy cleaving teams. So like SSB, RB, MLCC, Lilius, did I say RB? Charles. Those pretty meta heroes, pretty standard now in at least in GBG defense. So I think she can definitely like take advantage of that. It's very good. So overall, I think that her health suffers a bit. She won't get any health imprints, so that may be the most difficult part. I would say rush high speed, and of course try to work off her defense. So high defense, high speed, high effect resistance, I think would be the most bang for buck. If you could get in some HP in her too, that would be great as well. But I think there's no point running her on any other set other than speed set at the moment. Yeah, I don't think so, because based on other dual attack characters, counters won't trigger the dual attack. So yeah, I think full like high speed. In terms of whether or not you should put her on a immunity at this point with her high effect resistance is very luxury. I would chase the higher effect resistance. The immunity can't stop a Basar anyway, but the immunity would be nice if you're taking her somehow into RTA and there's like a Falcon O'Cleary or Lilius, and they got like two mages, both have plus 30 toggle holes ancient book. The immunity could come clutch there. As a point of reference, I always do say that immunity on everyone, but in her case, I would say that yeah, if you get really high effect resistance, immunity and effect resistance is a bit different in my opinion, but if you can get high effect resistance, which it shouldn't be too hard, with immunity, with high speed on a speed set, I think that's fair. That's pretty good. I think in terms of like just other like healing potential, I mean, I don't think you need to like use a rod. Tome, I think we've deduced that it won't work on her as well. Maybe a Celestine. Potion Vial is always a good like swappable artifact for different fights. So every single Soul Weaver can actually fit Potion Vial. So I'm not even gonna say like, oh, she needs the main Potion Vial, but she can use a lot. There's a ton of really good healed artifacts now, but I think the Prophetic Candlestick, I kind of like that idea, especially if you can get that S3 off very quick. And then, like I said, if you're like baiting the cleave and you're just allowing cleaves to go into you, she might be get the Prophetic Candlestick, well, at least one before her next turn. So anyways, that's my thoughts on Sinful Angelica. Again, I'm very excited for her. Glad that she is a 4-star, but that means also no pity. Depends on her rotation. I think I might have to Mystic Summon for her again. I think, like I said, maybe not a meta changer, but definitely a game changer, especially for me, I feel. Anyways, that's my thoughts on her. I'm gonna end my video recording for this video here. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter, subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.